Welcome back to another episode of Dennis the Explorer. I'm your traveling host that explores coast to coast, Dennis. For this episode, we're going to be taking a trip down to Dark Bluff, Maryland to see if the fear footage is real. You're now exploring with Dennis. Let's go. Hello! This isn't real.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another abandoned rail adventure. Coming to you with part 4 of the abandoned Erie Railroad. Right behind me here is the tracks. This is the same location where we started part 1. We walked from here back to the stone culvert near Rocky Glen Park. So in this video, we're going to pick up at the stone culvert, continue past it, see where the abandoned lines end, and see what's beyond it. So if you'd like to join me, all you have to do is come along with me. Just to give you some perspective as to where we are just a few hundred yards in from Montage Mountain Road. The Erie line later became Erie Lackawanna, then Conrail is here on the left hand side. And if I pan down the embankment here is where the Laurel line tracks used to be. So they do run parallel to each other, just in a different elevated area. But instead of retracing all my steps in this video, we've already done that in part 1. I'm gonna continue walking. I do have a long walk to go, but for you guys it'll just be a few moments. But in the meantime, if you want to get some more information or see what part 1 did entail, down below in the description the link will be there. So once we arrive at the stone culvert, I will pick up with the video, and if by chance something does stand out to me along the way, I'll be sure to share it with you. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep moving and I'll see you there. Did find some markings here on the rails. It's hard to make them out. I do see a date here though of, looks like 1928. Right there, I definitely could read that. But the other markings I'm sure are from the manufacturer. I just can't really make it out too well. It's like Carnegie or something, possibly. If you guys know what that says, I'll scroll through it one more time. Feel free to comment down below. I see a symbol there, and then it's like C-A-R-N-E-G. I think that is Carnegie. E-T, looks like a U, USA. Okay, I do see that. Carnegie something USA, 1928. So the ET, I don't know what that is. I want to chime in here and mention something that during my part 3 video of the abandoned Erie line, one of my viewers suggested that I show or tell of what mileposts are at. Basically the marker of the location of how many miles from, I believe, New Jersey it is, if I'm not mistaken. But with that said, this section of the line, as far as I know, doesn't have any visible mileposts. They've either been removed or are buried or something else. If I do happen to come across one, I definitely will show it to show you, what part of the line we're on, how far away it is. I think it goes by miles away from I think it's New Jersey. Now, if I am incorrect on that, I do apologize. I do know the mileposts do have a significance as to how many miles away we are from a particular location, but from being here from part 1, I don't remember seeing any mileposts, but the other sections do. I know part 3 definitely had at least 1 or 2, but I failed to show them in a video. But I will keep my eyes peeled. If I do spot one, I will show it on camera. So one thing I'm a little bit shocked to find here towards the end of March, especially since we've had some warm days. We've had 60s, low 70s, and no snowfall in weeks. But there still is a little bit of snow here, hiding in the shadows. So, last little bit of winter still holding on. And of course some icicles, which we've renamed Nature's Frozen Tears. So, I imagine it won't last much longer because they are calling for another warm-up next week. But I figure it's worthy to share. A little bit of snow left here along the abandoned Erie line. I just found something really cool just a short distance away from the snow. This rock face is covered in a sheet of ice, but the water is dripping down behind it, making for a really cool effect. It's almost like a hologram effect. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to show you. I actually never seen something like that before, except for like in a creek or a river when water's running underneath the ice. But look at that. That is so cool. So basically the water is dripping from right up top out of some nature's carpet, and it's hitting the ice and making its way behind the ice. It just makes for a really cool effect. You can barely hear the water too, just dripping and trickling. You know what it reminds me of? If you guys remember stores like Spencer Gifts, they would sell those little, it was like a oil and water mixture, and you know, you would tip it over and the oil would separate from the water, start bubbling. That's what it reminds me of. It's like one of those little motion things that's supposed to like help relax you, but it's like an oil water mixture device, and you turn it and it kind of separates and bubbles up. That's what it reminds me of. So I'm glad I spotted it. It's pretty cool. I keep stopping. I'm never gonna make it to the culvert, but I got a better section of the rail here. Definitely says Carnegie, ET, USA. This one says 1927. And then over here it has 11025, then R, E, and then OH. So hopefully that makes sense to someone, but 1927 on this rail. So believe it or not, what we're looking at is rocky Glen Lake. It has water in it. I was not expecting that. We are near the rear portion of it, and up until, geez, I'd say up until recent, this lake was bone dry for the most part, at least in the rear portion, because they did drain it purposely for dam remediation. But I'm not sure if they closed up the valve of the dam or if it's due to the snow melt and stuff, but there is water back here. This was not what I was expecting. Last time I was here, it was bone dry, just a couple puddles here and there, just tree stumps and, you know, actually like new grass and stuff, new weeds growing up. So unexpected to find water in Rocky Glen Lake. But if you do want to get more information on the lake and the park itself, make sure to check out my Rocky Glen playlist. There's numerous videos there covering all different aspects of the park. Well, we finally made it. We are here at the Stone Culvert where we ended our part 1 video. So we're gonna try to get down there. There is water flowing through it. I would like to take you guys through it this time, so I'm gonna kind of assess the situation and see how it is. Worst case scenario, if not, like last time, I will show you both sides of it. It does go underneath the rail line here, but it is pretty neat. It goes in at an angle and completely made out of stone. So I'll get down there, and if we could go through, we'll do that next. All right, I'm going to take you over there. It's not looking good. The water is actually significantly deeper than I've ever seen it before. I think they did something with blocking the water, maybe partially to do with this little dam area here. The last time I was here, it was not nearly as deep, but I'm able to give you a pretty good shot of it on this end, and then we'll go around the other end of it. You could actually see water coming out the wall here, so it's not entirely sealed up on the inside. Okay, so I'm kind of propped here on this branch, but yeah, here we are on the inside. It looks so cool, but it is pretty deep. Right here is probably about 2 feet deep, and you can actually see a pipe in the water there, which I don't remember seeing before, so it is pretty interesting. But I'm going to have to come either when there's no rain for a few weeks, or I'm going to have to come back with either some waders or in the summer with some water shoes and just walk through it. I have walked through it in the past, years ago, before I was even doing YouTube. So that is an option. I did tell you guys I would return and walk through it. I'm going to keep my promise on that. It's just unfortunately not going to be today. But yeah, it is crystal clear water. There's a pipe there, and it just looks really cool. It goes around at a little angle there and comes out on the other side where there is a pond on the other side, almost like a swamp. And last time I was there in part 1, there was a dam, which I couldn't tell if it was man-made or made by a beaver or something, but we'll head over there next and check it out, and then we could continue down the line itself and see where it goes and what's left of it. Here's one more look from this side. Looking at it from here, like with this angle, it looks like a castle or like a fortress or even a dungeon. And it flows out here, little tiny waterfall going over an old rail tie. You see some of the patches of green of nature's carpet, and eventually flows downwards and makes its way to the outlet towards the dam. So right there is the top of it. We were just down bottom there, and you can tell it comes in at an angle and turns because the other side of it's over here. So it's not completely straight through, but there is the kind of the head wall of it. Okay, yeah, so it's still pretty much how I remembered. There is a dam here restricting the water flow, and there's also a tree here now, which was not here last time, so can't really get as good of a view, but we can still check it out. Yes, this dam, everyone in the comment section, most people assumed it was made by, you know, a beaver or an animal to kind of pond up, build up the water in here. And this is kind of like it's a combination of like a pond and a swamp. A little bit of both here. And last time I was here too, there was actually surveyors on the other side taking some measurements or markings. But I would assume that if I was to kind of clear out that little debris on the other side, it would bring down the level a little bit. It's still not going to work for me today because I don't have the proper footwear. But let's take a peek inside from this angle. Okay, so here it's not really the best footing. It's sloped, wet and slippery. I don't want to kind of inadvertently slide in, so I'm going to cross over, attempt to cross over here. And last time I stood over there, I was able to show it to you guys. All right, let me see if they get across, and I'll pick up from there. Safely across this big, wide, massive river. Don't know how we did it, but we did. Okay, so let's take a peek inside here. So we are looking from the opposite end. Obviously, you do see the turn up there. It's almost looks like a little more than a 45-degree angle. And the water is clear. There is debris in the bottom, not really moving too much. And some water dripping. You can actually see it reflecting on the walls there. It's pretty neat. But yes, we're going to have to return one more time. I will make a video specifically on this so that we could cross through, whether with water shoes or if it's deeper, maybe even snorkel it. I do have a waterproof metal detector. You can maybe see if there's anything hidden on the ground, which would be pretty neat. But yes, one way or another, I will be back in the summer months to go through here, whether it's dry or just as wet. We will make it happen. Okay, so we got the culvert out of the way, got a little water in me, so let's go back up to the line and continue south. I do know it ends at some point, not officially, but it does get taken over by something else, if I'm knowing and remembering correctly. So let's get up there, continue down, and we'll see if I'm right. So I'm going to share with you from what I understand is beyond here. So right now we're still by Rocky Glen. We're going to continue down. On that side of the tracks is going to be Glenmaura Golf Course. And this side is going to be the dam area. And then the lower parking lot for Rocky Glen. And then Route 502. Route 502, there is I believe a girder bridge that goes over. And it still has the Erie name on it. I'll actually insert a photo to show you guys. Now from there, at that bridge onward, there's a spur there, and that is operated by the former Luzerne Susquehanna Railway. It's a short line railway. They are based out of Pittston and they run downwards to Kingston, but there is some industries they do deliver to off of Route 502, and I believe down past GoX, the powder mill, over the turnpike, there's another one there where they do some drop-offs. But back in 2020, last year, the railroad company R.J. Corman bought them out. They do now run the line. They are known for having their bright red engines. The ones that were left over from Luzerne Susquehanna are being repainted into the color scheme of R.J. Corman. But they traditionally ran little pup engines, little diesel switchers. Like I said, it's not a long rail line, it's not a long distance freight line, it's a short line railroad just for servicing certain businesses and industries. So at some point, these abandoned lines that we see are going to turn into active lines. Now we are going to be respectful of it, we're not going to go trespassing, but I will take you far enough to show you what the line looks like from there. You can also follow the line too. If you were to go up 502, up towards the GoX powder mill below the airport, the tracks do have some different switches there and stuff like that. So it's nothing really astounding to see, worth sharing in this video, but just to kind of put it into perspective as to where these go, who operates on them now. But we're going to continue down and see maybe an actual line where the abandoned line ends and the current line ends. But it's kind of cool to know though that a section or a part of this section of the old Erie-Lackawanna Railroad is still being used today, even though it's a short line railroad. So now that we got that covered, I'm going to cover some more ground. As you can see, it does go quite a ways down there, and once we do get close to something, we'll see what happens from there. Just wanted to quickly show you we are near the main lake area, the upper portion closest to the park, and again there is still water there. Directly across would have been the dance hall, the big concrete pad. the sandy beaches over there where they had a pool house, water slides. And right in front of us here, this area would have been the outlet. Now right there, I'll zoom in a second to show you, there's a little gap there with some stone blocks. That right there is actually a little tiny bridge for the Laurel Line. The Laurel Line did come here to drop off and pick up passengers. The Laurel Line station was further down, a little bit past the dam. The dam is down there too. You can see it in the distance, but yeah, this is normally fully underwater, and that little channel there would connect the main lake to the outlet. Back in the day, my brother and myself came fishing down here. We put his little boat through there with the trolling motor. We made it through and came fishing down here. And the deepest part of the lake too is also right here where the water is, right in front of that orange fence. When the lake is normally full, it's usually around 20, maybe 25 feet deep at the very bottom lowest point. So that's always underwater there. Even when they did drain the lake, there was still water there because it is the lowest part of the lake, the deepest part. And also the same area that I almost drowned in back, I think it was 2004. But I have so many great memories from this park back when it was open as a park, from coming here as a teenager, swimming, fishing, hanging out with friends, and then even bringing Lily and Jill here to come swimming and exploring the park. And being part of the Rocky Glen Memories group, I learned so much from them, from people sharing photos and videos and memories of when they used to either work here or bring their dates here or bring their families here. So a lot of great memories, and it's sad to see it in this state, but as the saying goes, nothing lasts forever. So what we're looking at here is the outskirts of Glenmaura golf course. It's actually I think a, whatever you want to call it, area to tee off or something. I'm not a golfer, but you can see the greens there. It's actually a really beautiful golf course. I've actually volunteered there for a couple of years, many years ago, for the driving range. It was a really fun experience. It's meticulously maintained. It's like one of the best courses here in Pennsylvania. It is a private course. It's also part of the Glenmaura development, where there's lots of million-dollar homes, but it is directly across from the outlet and the park here. So right there is the dam, the outlet area. And it was rumored too, it was rumored for the longest time that Glenmaura Golf Course bought out Rocky Glen, and that deemed to be incorrect. A friend of mine who does run the Rocky Glen Memories group did do the necessary research to find out that is owned by an LLC. I believe they're out of New Jersey. So they do border the property, but they do not own it. But curious to see what will come of this, since you got something so beautiful and some really expensive homes and developments here, and you have the former remains of a park. So just wanted to kind of bring you up to speed, show you what it looks like in this area, but we are going to continue down past these massive puddles, and somewhere down there the active line should begin for RJ Corman. So I'm going to spare you the time and effort to go through here. I'll do it for you, and I'll see you somewhere down there. Okay, I just had to throw this in because I kept my eyes open and I indeed found a milepost. So I'm down here near the golf course, and here's a concrete post with appears to be a number 9 on it. I think the other side's a little more intact. Right there you can see number 9. So here's number 9 milepost. So if that means anything to anyone out there, hopefully it helps. But yeah, I didn't think this was back here, but we did find one of the old existing mileposts of the Erie line. We are making some progress. I made it past the puddles safely. I am still dry, feet are dry. Line's still here, golf course is still there. But just up ahead, I'm noticing a clearing. the trees in the line and the gauge are disappearing, which means we should be getting very close to the active line. Now when I do say active, I don't mean it's used on a daily basis or even a weekly basis. From what I was told, this line, this particular section up here going over 502 to some of the industries and businesses are serviced a couple times a month, maybe 3 or 4 at the most. So there's no real fear of coming across the train, and obviously we're going to stay out of the gauge, which is the safe thing to do. But this actually is a really nice area. My first time ever walking it on foot, and as you can see here, the golf course is so close to it, and it's, like I said, this is a beautiful course. I mean, it's almost like nature's carpet, but that is like really short turf or grass. And then you see the golf cart pathway there. But as you can see, the line is pretty clear here. There's no signs of any trains being on it here. There's no shininess, no wear on the rails. It is pretty rusty and covered, but I do know shortly up ahead that may change, because I think what they use this line for, this section, is they cross over the bridge and hit a switch to go off in the left direction towards the industry there, or if they're going further past GoX across the turnpike. I believe that's what this section is used for. So it's not like a main thoroughfare, it's just used to get access to the switch. I thought for a second I came upon an abandoned structure, but this is actually, it looks like a restroom for the golf course here. Now in the distance, you may or may not be able to see, there's actually another lake there. People often mistake it for Rocky Glen Lake, and it is not. It actually does have a name to it, which is slipping my mind at the moment. I will put it on the screen, but from what I was told, it used to be frequented by park goers at Rocky Glen. Since it's so close to the park, they would come over here and go swimming, have parties. But the lake itself has been kind of, I guess you could say, reconstructed a little bit. They did put in a dam, or like a, yeah, I guess it would be a dam, or like a wall there, which did take away some of the natural shape of the lake. But the lake itself is still there. It's now owned by Glenmaura Golf Course, so it's not open to the public, but back in the day I was told it is a really popular swimming hole, as was Rocky Glen. Okay, so I don't know how much further I have to go. I don't want to draw this out too much longer, so next sign of activity or interesting feature, we'll pick up right there. So, as you just saw me walking in that little B-roll segment, I just stumbled upon something pretty interesting. Down here to the right is another stone culvert going underneath the rail line. This one I absolutely did not know about. It's my first time witnessing it in person, so in just a moment we're going to take a look down there and see what it looks like, how big it is. It is basically channeling the water coming from there, the man-made lake, the golf course lake, and the water is flowing out through the spillway there and going underneath out of a modern culvert under the Erie line through a old culvert. So on top of that though, you can see the line is very open here, but no signs of trains coming here. But I think it's open specifically, like I said, just in case they had a long load, they had to back up far enough to to clear the switch. But I don't think a train has been back this far in quite some time, because even looking further ahead, it looks kind of thick and overgrown up there. So I may have just been early speculating. Maybe the train never comes back this far. because there is definitely some trees up ahead in the gauge. So pretty much learning as we go. So people make mistakes. I am definitely guilty of it. But yeah, I think early speculation, trains do not come back this far. It is just open for whatever reason. It is kind of odd that there is no trees here, and all the ties and everything is kind of buried under this silt. It's like coal material, so it's all like coal dust and little fine fragments of coal. So me standing in the gauge here is no cause for concern because this part is not active since it is overgrown up ahead. But you know, we are going to be continuing further ahead. But before we do that, I'm going to make my way down here and let's check out that culvert. Oh wow. This is not what I expected. It's a combination of old and modern. I think this is one of a kind. I've ever seen something like this where it's built up with stone around it and a massive corrugated pipe in the middle of it. And looks pretty deep too. So this may be worth going into in the future. Wow, that is a huge pipe. All right, it's going to be kind of hard to see it on camera to do it justice, but I'll do my best to kind of give you the best visuals here, but this is pretty incredible. And here we have some stonework and one of the biggest corrugated pipes I've ever seen. This is, no word of lie, big enough for a vehicle to go through. That is massive. So with this being here, I'm guessing at some point the stone culvert that was here originally probably started falling apart, deteriorating, so they were forced to kind of insert this to help prevent any further destruction or erosion. So you have old stonework, modern concrete, modern pipe. My first time ever seeing that in person. And this water right here is a bit murky, but it looks like it's probably at least 4 feet deep from what I could tell. I'm actually going to go a little further downstream here so we can get a visual looking all the way through, and then I'm going to sit you down somewhere here. I'm going to try to get down there, and it should give you a good size comparison as to how big that pipe actually is. I want to show this tree to you too. It's coming straight up, and it takes like a left turn, splits off into two. You know, it's like two separate trees growing up there. But it makes you wonder what caused it to do that. I'm guessing, as I back up here, is that when it was growing up over these rocks and whatever else is there, is that it was kind of forced to grow over it, and then it just grew up. I don't know, pretty neat. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this flows into Roaring Brook, which comes down from the Moscow area, and that eventually leads into the Lackawanna, which then flows into the Susquehanna. But this water, again, is coming from the lake at the golf course, and here we are able to show you it. Now, it's not as long as as impressive as I thought it was going to be from here, but just the sheer girth of that opening is pretty phenomenal. And if it is as deep as I think it is, it may be worth coming to maybe do some snorkeling there too. So this is all not all that far from the other culvert we checked out a little bit earlier. So maybe if I'm in the area for that one, I will come back here. If the water looks like it's deep and clear, we'll try and do some snorkeling. Maybe there's something laying on the bottom worth discovering, but I'm glad we found it though. I love finding these, especially the old ones. And this being old and new is definitely, you know, something new for me. And as we look through the distance there, as I zoom in, you can actually see the more modern little concrete one going underneath like a little road bed. And then behind that is the dam spillway. So it's a great little area here, a combination of all different types of architecture, technology, construction, whatever you want to call it. But it is all here along the old Erie line. So right now you're going to see me walking down there and seeing the scale comparison of that massive culvert pipe compared to me. It's definitely about 10 feet tall and pretty enormous. I'm going to stick a stick in the water to get some depth readings, and it does seem to be around 3-4 feet deep from what I can reach, maybe a little deeper towards the middle, but it's kind of murky, but I think it's worth investigating in the future. Maybe a bonus location when we return to the previous culvert, so you may see this again in the future, but yeah, that is one heck of a find. Pretty neat. So all right, back up to the rails, southbound we go. So back there is where we just were, the open cleared area, and moving forward it is starting to get overgrown again with some pretty significant trees inside the gauge, so there's no way trains come back this far. But I do believe up ahead past there is the area that we thought was previously behind us, so I think we're going to find or be correct this time around, because we're getting very close to Route 502, and I have witnessed a Luzerne Susquehanna switcher on that bridge over 502, so I do know they at least come as far as that, and I believe over it. And as we're making our way through, I'm just noticing I'm in the middle of a rock cut. This was blasted away for this rail line, and the way you can tell, you see what I see? Right there, the drill markings. So they drilled from the top, blasted it away, and if I'm not mistaken, there may have been a double line. I think at one time, especially back when it was the Erie Railroad, there was a double main line here, so kind of where my fingers are would be two different lines here, and eventually the second one was picked up and removed. But these rock cuts are always fascinating because, you know, obviously trains can't go up and over hills. They have to do either switchbacks or a long curve, like horseshoe curve. So when they come into landscapes like this, they're forced to kind of just blast it away and go straight through. There's actually loose rocks falling as I'm walking by. Okay, I see a gate up here, an old gate, and it's getting very wet and swampy here. So I'm going to keep you guys rolling. I'm not going to cut away from here. I want you to see what's up here as we come upon it, because this is definitely changing now. And the traffic you may hear, that is the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Northeast extension, which does go over Route 502, heading north to Clark Summit, where it terminates, and then heading south towards the Allentown area. So here's the gate. I just stepped in some muck. So old gate here, which looks like it's been in that position for a long, long time. Oh, these rails are in pretty bad shape if trains do come this far. I don't know. I'm going to zoom in, which will probably highlight it. Hang on a second here. Yeah, see that section? That's actually dipping down and bending to the right a few inches. That is not normal. So hopefully trains don't go over that, or that will be a future derailment. Now the bridge up here that we're talking about as well is also frequented by locals in the summertime for swimming, because there is a swimming hole, and this is known as the Music Black Bridge, and people actually jump off the bridge into the little, I don't know if you want to call it creek or whatever it is. I actually have a video I made a long time ago of people doing that, so I'll link that down below in the description if you want to see people jumping off that bridge and swimming there. But Yeah, this is pretty neat. Looks like there's a mark up here on the track that someone spray painted. It might be like a barrier that they don't go past, so to speak. Okay, so see this here? There's yellow markings on both sides, and it says POS 1,000 feet. This might be as far back as they come. And looks like there's been some heavy equipment here. Looks like some dozer tracks or excavator tracks. These rails, and it's hard to tell. Doesn't look like they've been freshly used, but they could be from the equipment running over it too. I'm gonna go a little further ahead. I'm not gonna go all the way across because it definitely is more maintained and used further up. But here is Route 502. Looks like, yeah, it looks like they brought some equipment in here and knocked down a bunch of trees. So yeah, this, you know, there was some intentional work done here recently. So looking here, looking at the track, looks like there is the indentation for the inside flange. So it looks like something, whether it was a maintenance away equipment or the actual train itself, has been to this portion. So I'm going to stop here. I don't want to go any further and press my luck. You could see the inner line there for the prevention of a derailment so it doesn't go over the bridge. But this is the type of girder bridge, I guess you want to call it. And on the sides of it does say the Erie line, but up ahead you can see the track is much more maintained. There is ballast up there. And around that bend, it'll eventually meet up with a switch where if it stays on the main line, it'll go towards Pittston. If it branches out to the left, it'll go to some of the industries by the airport, GoX, over the turnpike. So this is where our Part 4 adventure is going to end. But I am curious to see what is going to take place here because, again, there is a lot of trees that were knocked down, a lot of work done here recently. And these tracks that I'm walking on, the excavator tracks, are pretty fresh. So if anyone has any insight as to what they're going to be doing here, would love to know. I don't think the line's going to continue any further because we already saw how overgrown it is, but it is, you know, another piece to the puzzle, as I like to say. Time will tell. And my eyes are seeing something, or they're playing tricks on me. What we're looking at is a something that is being kind of barricaded. Looks like it could be a cave or something else. Yeah, not sure what that is, but it is intentionally blocked up, but not a great job at it. But I may have to return at a later date and do some investigating and see what that is. Could be nothing, could be something. There is a road though that goes kind of up and around it, so I am a little curious as to what is back here. All right, enough speculating, enough being curious. Let's get back somewhere back there and I'll share my final thoughts with you. All right, curiosity got the best of me. I had to come check it out. I thought it was potentially a opening to a cave or a mine, but it's not. It's just wood laying there against a rock face. There's no opening. So I couldn't help myself. Mike, is that what I think it is? But no, it's not. There's just my eyes playing tricks on me. So now that we know that's nothing to return to, we could kind of check that off the list. So, what did you guys think of part 4 of the Erie abandoned rail line? This one, I'm so glad I got done because this is where it all started. Part 1 was here back in 2019. A year and a half later, we're back on the same location, further down, to confirm where it ends and where the active new area begins. Now, any information I did share with you, again, is based on my own research or thoughts or speculation. If I am incorrect, don't hold it against me, but I do my best to try to be knowledgeable, but I obviously have a lot to retain for all these videos, so sometimes information does get mixed up or confused or something else. So if you did find this video informative or entertaining in any way, then my job is done. That is the purpose of doing this for you guys, is to show you things from our past, from our history related to railroading, and to show you how, even though it's something that's no longer used in this area, it now has new life going that way. So that is pretty cool. Finding that newer culvert with the combination of the corrugated pipe and the old stone wall was a nice little bonus find. Not the most amazing culvert I've ever found, but nonetheless, it is something that was created for the active Erie line back in the day. So again, you may see that again in the future as I return to the Rocky Glen culvert to walk through, possibly do some snorkeling, maybe do a little bit of metal detecting. Time will tell, but regardless, I will be back in the summertime when it is warmer and much more better conditions to go through. I do have a part 5 though of the Erie line, which is kind of in limbo if I'm going to do it or not, because it does go along Route 435 and begins in the old town of Greentown. And right now they're working on that area under the 380 bridges. It's a massive construction zone going on for multiple years. It's a multi-year project. So if I could get down there without any issues and able to walk the line, I will do it. That will be a part 5. But I do know there's no rails, but there is a lot of rock cut areas just like there is here. And we can at least follow the path of the old line. So part 5 may or may not come out depending on circumstances, but I do have other abandoned railroad adventures coming out. There's a short line railroad in Luzerne County I'm going to do a video on. There's also a old spur line going through the middle of the city with so many crossing gates that are just frozen in time. It's almost like a surreal, location. So those will be coming out in the future as well. So if you do want to see those videos and my other adventures, make sure to subscribe to the channel. As I stated before, my channel is a variety channel. You never know what you'll see. You may see something related to trains, amusement parks, food, product reviews, vacations, anything under the sun. If it's interesting to me and I think entertaining to you, then you may see it on my channel. So with that said, thanks for joining me on today's adventure. And as always, guys, I'll see each and every one of you in the next video.